Why do we use irregular verbs? Irregular verbs tend to be some of the most common verbs in English because they often express fundamental actions, states, or events that are integral to everyday communication. Here are a few reasons why they are both frequent and irregular. Basic actions and states. Many irregular verbs represent core actions like go, be, see, do, and eat that we frequently use in daily conversation and writing. Because these verbs are essential for expressing basic ideas and relationships, they naturally occur more often. Historical development. The English language has evolved over centuries, and many of its most frequently used verbs come from Old English or other Germanic roots. These verbs often retain their irregular forms from earlier stages of the language, while less common verbs have tended to regularize over time. Conjugation patterns. The irregular forms of these common verbs create unique verb conjugation patterns that speakers have retained in usage. As a result, people often encounter these verbs in their irregular form more frequently than they do with regular verbs, reinforcing their presence in everyday language. Functionality in speech. Irregular verbs frequently serve crucial grammatical functions, such as forming the perfect tenses, for example, have seen or had gone, which are essential for expressing prior actions and relationships between events. Language learning. Since these verbs are so common, they often become some of the first verbs learners of English encounter, leading to their widespread recognition and use. Overall, the combination of their fundamental importance in communication and the historical quirks of the English language has resulted in irregular verbs being both prevalent and unique in their forms. But how do we learn the irregular verbs? Well, luckily, because irregular verbs are so common, you are likely to hear them a lot when learning English. In this video, we will show you some methods of remembering the irregular verbs.
Did you know that about 70% of the time when we use a verb in English, it's irregular? Irregular verbs can make you go crazy, but in fact, they follow some patterns. In this lesson, you'll learn groups of irregular verbs that will help you remember them better. The first group is irregular verbs with all three forms identical. These verbs are the same in the present, past, and past participle. One example is put. Present. I always put the milk in the refrigerator. Past. Yesterday I put the books in my backpack. The present perfect uses the past participle form. I've already put the documents in the mail. Other verbs with all three forms identical include bet, burst, cost, cut, fit, hit, hurt, let, put, quit, set, shut, split, and spread. The next group is verbs with identical present and past participle forms. The only different form is the past. Come, came, come. Become, became, become. Run, ran, run. A number of irregular verbs have n in the past participle. These can be divided into 4 subgroups, with o in the past and past participle, with o in the past only, verbs with the past form ending in EW and the past participle in OWN, and other. Subgroup 1. Break, broke, broken. Choose, chose, chosen. Forget, forgot, forgotten. Get, got, gotten. Speak, spoke, spoken. Steal, stole, stolen. Wake, woke, woken. Wear, wore, worn. In this subgroup, the vowel changes to O in the past and past participle. Subgroup 2 has O in the past but not in the past participle. Drive, drove, driven. Ride, rode, ridden. Rise, rose, risen. Write, wrote, written. Notice that the sound of the I changes from the present to the past participle. The present is drive, and the past participle is not driven, but driven. Subgroup 3. Verbs ending in EW in the past and OWN in the past participle. Fly, flew, flown. Grow, grew, grown. Know, knew, known. Throw, threw, thrown. Finally, we have subgroup 4, other. These verbs have N in the past participle, but don't appear to follow any other pattern. Bite, bit, bitten. Hide, hid, hidden. Eat, ate, eaten. Fall, fell, fallen. Give, gave, given. See, saw, seen. Shake, shook, shaken. Take, took, taken. Another group of irregular verbs is verbs with pronunciation changes. For example, long E to short E. Keep, kept, kept. Sleep, slept, slept. Feel, felt, felt. Bleed, bled, bled. Feed, fed, fed. Meet, met, met. Lead, led, led. Another group has EA pronounced differently from the present to the past and past participle. Deal, dealt, dealt. Mean, meant, meant. Read, read, read. Hear, heard, heard. Another group is when the long I changes to OU. Bind, bound, bound. Find, found, found. Grind, ground, ground. Wind, wound, wound. Short I can change to U. Dig, dug, dug. Stick, stuck, stuck. Spin, spun, spun. Sting, stung, stung. Two very common verbs, sell and tell, become sold and told in the past and past participle. Finally, we have the verbs with ought endings in the past and past participle. This can be spelled O-U-G-H-T or A-U-G-H-T, but the pronunciation is the same. Bring, brought, brought. Buy, bought, bought. catch, caught, caught, fight, fought, fought, seek, sought, sought, teach, taught, taught, think, thought, thought. Remember that the G is silent in these verbs. Verbs with 3 different vowels. In this group, the vowel changes from I to A to U. Begin, began, begun. Drink, drank, drunk. Ring, rang, rung. Shrink, shrank, shrunk. Sing, sang, sung. Sink, sank, sunk. Spring, sprang, sprung. Swim, swam, swum. Finally, we have the completely irregular verbs. These verbs don't follow any specific pattern, so you just need to memorize their past and past participle forms. The verb to be is am, is, or are in the present, was or were in the past, and been in the past participle. Do, did, done. Go, went, gone. Have, had, had. Make, made, made.